Hi knitters, welcome to PJ Knits. My name's Penny and I'm a knitter, a blogger, and a YouTube podcaster. And thanks for joining me today in my personal yarn shop, also known as the top level of our house. And this is my knitting journal where I'm going to talk about my knitting and some sweaters and some other socks and just all kinds of fun knitting thing. And I'm so glad that you are joining me. Today is Tuesday, January 11th in central Illinois, and there's still snow on the ground, and it's getting a little windy. It's in the 20s today, and the sun is shining, and I am happy for that. I love sunshiny days, so I'm so glad you came by. And so let's talk some knitting. First of all, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about a wrap-up of the Mistletoes 2021 in our Ravelry group, PJ Knits. We have a winner. The winner of this bag from Brooklyn Haberdashery that was donated by our friend Victoria. And this particular one is going out to post number 64, which is Peggy Lacy Babe. Check her out in the PJ Knits Ravelry group under Mistletoes and see her socks that she did for the fourth quarter. So Peggy, when I see you next in person, I will have this bag and we will hand it off. So she'll be getting that. And speaking of socks, I have a half-finished object of a sock that I made a deal with myself that I would every day until I finished it, knit an hour on it, and I cannot cast on another sock until I finish the other half of this one. And this is a whip that's been on the needles for several years. So it's so much fun to have it off. It's a cottony yarn. It's not all wool, so it'll be perfect for early spring. But I have a finished sock project that I wanted to share with you, and off of my whip list. Now let's talk about Advent calendars for 2021. My Legacy Fiber Arts one, which was the Not So Naughty Stocking by Remembrance Pottery, and that pattern is now available out on Ravelry if you choose to purchase it. I'm not going to show you that because I'm not any further than I was last podcast. I've kind of set it aside for now. I'm still in that same motif that requires a little bit of attention, and I've been working on other things as I'm going to show you. So I have put that one aside for now, but definitely will have that done for next Christmas. The second one is the Cozy Memories blanket that I worked on in 2021. Every Sunday for 52 weeks, I would put a square in. And then at Advent time, I did a loop and about Advent swap. And so I put a square in for the 25 days of Advent. I had a few more that I needed to finish off that row. I didn't want one just left hanging out there. So I finished off a row between Christmas and New Year's so that it will be now working the other direction. So I'm going to do the same thing this year. Every Sunday for 52 weeks, I plan on putting a new square in it, and we'll see how it grows. It's about 33.5 by 60-ish right now. And it will be also, I'll talk about every Sunday, I post the square on Instagram under PJ Knits, hashtag Scrappy Blanket, Scrappy Sunday, PJ Knits Scrappy, a whole bunch of different hashtags. So follow me on Instagram if you would, and you'll see those posts throughout the year. The other one, I have a finished object to share with you. I did an Advent with Chelsea Luxe Yarns, and so much fun. It was done out of her glitter socks, and it was a fun knit. I did the whole shebang on this one. I did the treats. There were treats in it. I got a bag that looks like a postcard. And then I also opted for the full skein of yarn. This particular one is called Adventure. And again, this is her Chelsea Luxe hand-dyed yarn. And it is 75% superwash merino, 20% nylon, 5% stellina. And it's her Luxe glitter. So I did a whole skein of that. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this one yet. I'm on the fence about what I'm going to do. Maybe a hat. Maybe a hat with mohair to go with my finished object which is the Dust of Snow wrap by Curious Handmaids. This is a wrap, is what, by Helen Stewart, is what it is called, what is she says. I held each of my minis together throughout the knit, along with a strand of Sanduskarn tin. Oh my. This is what happens when you have bright light there. It is the tin silk mohair. And this was very affordable. I purchased this from the knitting place out in New York. Oh, there we go. And I just did it. It's just in a cream. This is labeled as a wrap, but I'm going to use it as a big old scarf when it's windy like this to keep my hood up. And I loved working on this. This is what I wanted to finish. I kept working on it. It is so much fun. I used all of the colorways, all but one. There was, I could have used the 25th, but I did not. So this is the wrap. And as you can see, it's about 20 inches wide. It is just beautiful. And with that silk mohair, it is so fun. And I would work on this every night when I would come upstairs to watch some things on TV. And I'm going to wait and take some pictures outside when we get a dust of snow. And then this is the other side. I loved knitting on this. It wasn't too hard. But as you can tell, it's quite long. And most definitely could very much be used as a wrap, but it comes down to my ankles right now. But I see it. When it was chilly last week, I wish I had one that would come up and around my neck. And it would most definitely hold my hood up and around the neck because it really was blowing. So this is Dust of Snow in Chelsea Luxe yarn, and finished it in 2022. So it's an FO for 2022. Loved it and loved working with this mohair. I don't think it's scratchy at all. And like I said before, this tin silk mohair I thought was very affordable for the yardage. 212 meters. So I will definitely buy more of this. And you can see how those colors just melded together again. All kinds of colors. And simple patterns that were easily knit while I was watching TV. So that is my Dust of Snow, and that's kind of the Advent wrap-ups. And I wanted to share something I didn't share last time. I didn't have it on my person at that time, but I received as a present from my friend Debbie the Cocoa Knits Markers Makers Board Kit. And I have been using it for my Dust of Snow. I'm using it for my other sweaters. It can sit right on the table next to me. And I just love this board. It is magnetic, made out of that paper that they generally have. There are things made out of. It's magnet here, and these magnets are so strong. And when I'm taking markers off, I can just kind of go like, bloop, and it falls on there. This is so cool, and then easily could be folded up as well. So this is from Cocoa Knits, and this is their maker's board. They have rulers, and I want to get one of those rulers as well, so that I can use instead of having to lift off my tape all the time, because this just sits by my chair all the time when I'm knitting, and I have projects sitting there close by. Okay, next up, another finished object for 2021. This is the 2021 wrap-up. Again, this particular scarf I started on 1/18/20. I have a hat to match downstairs, and so it was knit, and the hat itself was knit around 2019-ish, and I finished this on 12/30/21. It is a skein of hedgehog fibers, Aran weight in bubble, along with some leftover homespun house mohair that I had in a cream. And so I have a scarf to match my hat now. And again, so I'm going to have plenty of things to wear with the wind and the warmth. So I'm thinking I still have a little bit left. I might need a pair of mitts or gloves to go with, don't you think? So I finished that particular one as well. Now, 2021. Okay, I'm going to be right back. I left my journal in the other room. I want to talk to you about it. Don't go anywhere. Hi. Those of you who have been here before know that I am a big knitting journal person, and we're going to talk about that in future episodes. I'm going to talk about that. We'll talk about other things a little bit later. But anyway, I have a journal that I started. This originally one. This started, I guess the first entry was January 1st, 20. So I started in 20, a new journal. And I keep track in my journal every project that I start. I have a project page for each of them, and I keep tabs on start and finish dates, yarns, needles. I'm going to talk about that all in depth in a future episode, but I just wanted to talk about my 2021 recap of things that I did. So for 2021, I tallied up 2 pairs of socks, 4 blankets, 9 hats, 7 sweaters, top this 2021, 1 baby cocoon, 3 ponchos, 6 shawls, a wrap, 3 little blankies for stuffed animals, and a scarf, which is a total of 37 items for knitting. So that's my kind of 2021 wrap up. One of the things that I do on Instagram, whenever I have a finished object, I try to put that on Fridays and call it Finally Finished Friday. But I also label that project hashtag PJ Knits, and in the case of 21, I put PJ Knits 2021, hashtag PJ Knits 2021. So I would know in 2021, I could find that hashtag on Instagram and see all the things that I finished. And so I'm kind of keeping tabs on it that way, as well as when I do a project page, it is in my journal, but I also add that to my Ravelry page as well. So almost all of the sweaters that I knit all of the sweaters that I am knitting or have knit recently in the last few years are on Ravelry under Penny J, and I try to give any kind of modifications there as well, and I take them directly from my journal and keep tabs on them. But I also use the paper pattern because I like to write on the paper pattern and not have to haul my journal around with me, and then I come back and put it into my journal. So those are kind of the things that are in for 2021. And so for what I will do in 2022, I will do it again and do hashtag PJ Knits 2021. I also, at the beginning of the year, I make a page for each month. And the reason I do this in my journal is because I like to plan out. I like to have in writing there in a place that's accessible. I like to go out there and know what's going on. So say, for example, last year we had a new grandbaby that was born in July, and I knew ahead of time. And so I wanted to factor in what I wanted to knit for the baby for baby showers and afterwards and into the end of the year. And so I would put those kind of tentatively on my monthly page so that I would get kind of a clue as to what I want to do. And among other things, I would put in there, like my Sunday Square. I wanted to make sure that I had it checked off. I wanted to put on there what kind of little, I like to put my Snoopies, watching them. And so I wanted to make sure I didn't duplicate something from my collection from Snoopy. So I would put that next to the, the appropriate Sunday. One of my big things for 2021 and 2022 is hashtag 3 knit whips. I have, as you can see, a little bit of whips, not all on there, but down the row, down the yarn shop. And I want to get some of those finished. So kudos to me when I do. I make a little check mark and the date that I finished it. And so I like to kind of get a thought for when I want to have those whips done. Now, these are only suggestions to myself. These are not, oh my gosh, it's midnight on the 30th and I don't have this done. No, it's suggestions. And if it carries over into the next month, that's fine. Or 2 or 3 months, or in this case, the next year. And at some point in time, what I will do is I will stop and think, is this fish or cut bait? Is this continue knitting it, or you're never ever going to continue knitting it? Pull it out, do something with the yarn, move on. So sometimes I have to make those decisions. So that's just a little bit of my thought process in my journal. I also make a list of just a real short little list of things that I would like to do for 2022, or my emphasis. Again, I'm not going to beat myself up at the end of the year or the end of the month or end of the week if I've not accomplished that. I'm okay with that. It's my knitting, and I only have to be responsible to myself. And let's not put the pressure on finishing it. So for 2022, my goals are pretty much the same as 2021. Whips, keep working on them. Knit from my gift yarn. Knit from my personal yarn shop as much as possible. But if I don't have something in the yarn shop that is much needed to do a project, I'm, again, not going to beat myself up about buying it because, life is too short to not enjoy the things. The other piece is I want to continue the thought about looking at different designers. And the EPS, Elizabeth Zimmerman, I want to continue to do the hashtag EZ and PJ. I want to continue to work through the knitting workshop book, and that is going to be in future episodes. I'm going to tell you all about that. Coco Knits book, I want to look at her designs and get a feel for that, maybe knit one of those. Also, Anka Strict, she has a easy for me to say, contiguous sleeve that I am dying to try out in her design aesthetics. I want to try that out. And then also look at Julie Hoover. She's been on my list as well. So those are kind of the things that I'm kind of thinking about for 2022, my goals. And again, I was watching a podcast, and one of the things is these are suggestions. These are not set in stone. Neither are my monthly want to knits. But thinking long term, thinking, do I want to do the Christmas stocking from Legacy Fiber Arts? If I want to have that done, how many months back, or how many, every couple of days do I have to complete a motif to have that ready for next year? So it's just kind of a plan, and I think that's left over from my working days. I always had a to-do list, a checklist. We had timelines that we had to keep, and it just kept me focused, I guess, is where I'm going with that. Now, that's not to say that I'm not, squirrel moment. Most definitely, that is totally happening quite often. So anyway, those are kind of my plans for 2022. And I have plans also for the podcast. one of the plans is to continue to, as I said, work through Easy's knitting workshop, and really use and delve into her. I've been attending knitting camp for many years for Meg Swanson's, and I think it's time to put some of that into practice and enjoy that knitting. So that's one of the things that I'll be doing. And then I'm also going to continue knitting sweaters for 2022. 2021 was hashtag top this 2021 KAL. And for 2022, it's going to be hashtag tops for 2022. And I'm going to continue to do knitting sweaters. I have some that we're going to talk about, some favorites, and all kinds of other things. So let's start with sweaters that I'm knitting on right now. First up, I have talked about this one before, and I'm just going to share progress on with this one. This is my second ground pepper. My first one was done in the gradient ways. And this is by Suvi Samola. So I have one of these on the needles. And what I am doing with this one is I'm not really concentrating on it right now. But this is for when I get a chance to go back down to our local yarn shop, Fiber Universe. This is yarn from there. And again, just as a reminder, this is from the Dream collection, May 2021, Smooshy Cashmere. It's a fingering weight. It is their pop-up club. And I've just got a new, this one's not going to be, like I said, this one's not going to be a gradient. It's just done all out of that yarn. And this will be the shop, when I go down to the shop, that I will be knitting on. And I believe in knitting on yarns from the shop that you're taking up space in sometimes. And I know that our friend Erin doesn't mind as much, but I think there are times when you just need to be knitting on their yarn. And so when I go back and able to get down to Fiber Universe, I will be knitting on my ground pepper again. This one I'm tentatively thinking a good time, late spring. This will be a good late spring sweater to have done. So I put it into my book to have maybe finished by March, because I really love, it's a V-neck, and I really like that particular pattern. Secondly, on the needles is sometimes you just need one that is mindless. And this particular one is called the On Trend Top. I do believe it is a free pattern. It is originally under Yarn Inspirations, and this is a Kimberly McAlinden pattern. And I do believe it's a free pattern, but don't quote me on that. And this is just a cute little pattern that can be just thrown over a white shirt or a turtleneck, something to keep you warm. And I am using, the yarn that I am using is the Loops Luxe Chunky, which is an alpaca and silk. And it's just a fun knit that I can just sit at night. I'm watching on Hulu on demand that we have. I am watching Below Deck. I'm binge watching that. And so this is just something that I can knit on at night while I'm watching that. And it's just a fun knit. And so this is a fun one. And it's so soft and just a comforting knit. So this is one of the sweaters that I am currently knitting on. I have a thought, and we've talked about this one before, down the road, that next up will be the Palette Sweater by Lisa K. Ross, and I have that particular one that I want to knit on, but I've not cast on yet, because I want to finish a sweater before I do that. But I've got the yarn from Sun Valley Fibers. So that is kind of on my queue. And then finally, one that I'm really kind of concentrating right now. I've got most of the yarn for it. It is an Andrea Mowry. This is the Comfort Fade Cardi. I've seen a lot of those out there, done in La Bien-Aimée. I did not want to, at the time I was thinking about doing this whole colorway, and it was hard. I wanted to get started, and I did not want to spend the money on purchasing it at that time, but I did purchase yarn. This is from Legacy Fiber Arts. This is their DK base, and I just got to the point last night where I am starting to go into the other colors. Very, very similar, let's put it that way, to the colorway. It's coming up a little bit green on the screen, but it really is more of a aqua, of the sea blue. But I just started doing the fade on it last night, and so this is going to be super, super fun. This color is Aquanet, and then I have just started with Sea Glass, and this is the Sea Glass. This will be the next colorway. So as you can tell, they're very, very close, and this is Aquanet. Very close to the original, and so I'm kind of keeping with that. So I'll share with those with you as we continue down the road. So sweaters. Those are kind of some sweaters that I am working on and thinking about. One of the things that I want to do in each podcast is I want to show you, not necessarily, I mean, I guess maybe the sweaters that I really love. I'm trying to show sweaters from my wardrobe, and I'm going to share with you today a designer that I met at knitting camp many years ago. And she became a friend. I knit a lot of her patterns, and I've shown some of these on previous podcasts when I've talked about sweaters. But as long as we're talking about sweaters, I wanted to revisit this designer. She really is no longer designing as much or dyeing her yarn any longer. But I can't let some sweater videos go on without really talking about her. This particular book is, you may be able to find it, but it's not going to be in print on Amazon. It will be at a used bookstore or other places. But the individual patterns are not available as well. But I'm going to share them because they're from my wardrobe, and there are some fun ones that I wanted to talk about this book one last time. This is called Knitted Jackets, and this is by Cheryl Oberly. And you can see I've used it quite often. I have knit 8 jackets out of this book. I gifted away 5 of them. I've worn them quite a bit, and when I was working at the college, there was a gal in the library who didn't knit, and you know, the sweaters, after a while, they were like, oh, they're too big, they're too small, they're too long, they're too bulky, so I'm going to gift them off. So I gifted them to her. Well, as I was telling some friends this morning, I'm sad that I did that now because they would be wonderful to share with you, but I don't have them. But anyway, I am going to share the ones that I do have from this book, Knit Jackets with Style. And the thing that I like about my book, and I'm glad that I still have it, is that there are some sweaters in here that I still want to knit. I believe that they really are still sweaters that are timely, that could be knit right now. First up is, this one's called Northwest Celtic. And I have some unspun alpaca from Schoolhouse Press. This would be a great sweater. And so this one is still on my radar to knit. Next up is what is the Edwardian Day Coat. This one, I think, is a worsted weight and could easily be done out of Cascade 220 or a rustic wool. I love that one and all the cables. Still a sweater that could be worn right now. And then the this one here is called the Scholar's Jacket. Again, I think this is a worsted weight. Could easily be done for winter. I love that one. I love that one. So that's from Knitted Jackets. I also have a whip that I need to seriously think about fish or cut bait. This is called Ivory Leaves, and I have this done out of a limey green. It's not done, and so I think it's probably a cut bait because it's been on the needles since 2013, 2014. I would definitely make it longer, but I think this is a cut bait right now. So anyway, those are some ones that I still think are timely, but I want to share with you some that I love and still wear. First off is called Cusco. I knit this one in 2013, and it was done out of briar rose yarn, alpaca. Love this one. Very simple little pattern. And up the back, I just love this one. And I still wear it. And I'll go back a little ways, yeah. So I love that one. And then the next one is called Wabi-Sabi. This is one of my top sweaters that I love. And this particular one is out of Malabrigo single and an alpaca with a twist. Knit many years ago as well, and I have worn it to death. The single pills a little bit, but it's called Wabi-Sabi, and I love this one. Again, this is a nice long one. This is perfect for right now. Very reminiscent of the style of the faded cardie. So I just love this one. It gets a lot of wear and covers the bum, as they would say. And then finally, this one is called Three Sisters, and I knit this out of Cascade 220. Another one I love to wear as well. Has a nice braided cable down the front. And I love these simple, easy necks that she's got on them. There you go. And this one's called Three Sisters. Just one cable. And I loved that. Some fun sweaters that I really love from the Knitted Jackets book. So if you can get yourself one of those books, it's well worth it. And there's some really neat sweaters in there. So I hope you enjoyed that little bit of sweaters that I showed with you, even though it's from a book that you can no longer get readily. But if you find it, nab onto it. And then the final one I'm going to show you, not from her Knitted Jackets book, but a pattern that I do believe is available on Ravelry. It is called the Hanton Jacket. And I knit this originally out of Cheryl's yarn that she dyed. Has this little treatment. There you go. And I love it too. And generally I don't go for the drop sleeves, but I did on this one. And this was knit several years ago as well. So I hope you enjoyed those sweaters from my archives. And I wish I had the others to show you as well. So, okay, almost nearing the end here. Just wanted to talk to you about some cast-ons that are maybe not sweaters. I have a cast-on. It's called Chelsea's Cowl, and this is the one that I'm using for Zoom meetings because it's pretty easy to work on. This is from Kathy from the Knot House, who designed this pattern. And this fits the bill as I am knitting this out of gift yarn and leftover yarn. This is called, the yarn is from the Alpaca Yarn Company, and it is called Paca Pez. It was my Christmas gift from Brenda this past year, and it's called Caribbean Crocodile. And then I'm using from Big Sky their mohair, and I had that left over in my stash. So I am doing those. That's my Zoom knitting that I sit and knit during Zoom. So I wanted to share that whip with you. I think that's everything that I wanted to tell you about as far as the knitting goes. So when you're knitting, what are you watching on TV? I just wanted to share a couple of things with you. The second season of Emily in Paris on Netflix. Binge that one, done. Left us hanging. Can't wait until 2023 probably to see the next episode. Finished Yellowstone, Paramount Plus. Just finished that one. Binged that one during the holidays when we had access to it. We bought a new laptop for the tall guy, and with it we got 6 months of Apple TV, and so I watched the morning show with Reese Witherspoon and Jennifer Aniston. Binged that one. The season's on that. That one's done, I do believe, and I enjoyed that. That was fun to watch. While we were at it, I heard so much about Ted Lasso, and so we did all the seasons of that, 2 seasons, I think, and that one's coming back, I hear. Cannot wait for that. That was a hoot. I loved that show. That was fun to watch. I'm watching some old game shows on Prime. I'm watching Super Password with Bert Convy, from 1984, and last week or so, one of the hosts, one of the partners on there, the actors, was Betty White, and so it was so much fun. That was right after she passed away, so that was fun to watch. And now, like I said earlier during the night knits, I am binging on Hulu Demand. I am watching Below Deck, and they're in the Caribbean, they're on beaches, and yeah, it's a reality show, but it's kind of fun to watch as well. So those are some things that I am watching while I'm knitting. I'd love to know down below what you're watching while you knit. So the next few episodes, I'm going to talk about Easy and PJ, the knitting workshop, and where I'm going with that. I'm also going to, a couple of people asked me to do some sort of organizing, talk about my organizing details on my knitting and in my notebook, my planning, and other things. So I'm going to share some of that with you in coming episodes. So those are kind of some of the plans that are I'm thinking about. So that's it for this Tuesday. Thank you so much for everybody who comes back each time. I do appreciate you hanging out with me to talk about my knitting. And so until next time, knit on with confidence and hope through all crises. Thank you. Subscribe, tell your friends. Talk at you later. Bye.